Welcome back to the third video of our four-part series on how communication trumps technology, helping executives and leaders communicate more effectively using virtual technology. Now, for the past two videos, we've been talking about different team members. So the next two will be a little bit different than the first two. This team member, as I describe them, you will recognize some of these behaviors because they are visual, especially under stress, pressure, or fatigue. And as I describe them, someone will pop into your head that sounds just like this individual. So this particular team member tends to be a little bit more reserved, slower pace. They tend to hang out in the background. This is the team member that tends to volunteer first for things. It's a great support mechanism, and it's someone you can depend on. They tend to be the quiet person in the group, but still social, and they really love being there for others. So someone in your team may sound like this. Now, as we've discussed before, that all of us have a little bit of all of these temperaments, and that the situation and environment will help you adapt and overcome the situation that you're in. That's why we move from one behavior or another. So here are some do's and don'ts when you're working with this particular team member so that your virtual calls, your conversations, and productivity are effective. The first thing you want to do with this particular team member is communicate with them 2 or 3 days prior to the meeting and giving them some insight as to what they can expect from the meeting. This can be done on a phone call, or this can be done in an email or even a text. What this helps them to do is to be prepared. One of the things that this particular team member doesn't really feel comfortable doing is new things are being put on the spot. So the more opportunity you give this team member to be prepared, to know what to expect, so there are no surprises, will help them to be more productive during the call. With all of this social distancing and changes from the office to the home, their routine has been somewhat disruptive. And this puts them in a situation where they may be a little bit uncomfortable or uncertain. Team members of this type of temperament don't tend to like too much change or new things, and everything that's happening tends to be new. So this is a good way to reassure them, to make them feel comfortable so they're a productive member of a conversation during your virtual meetings. The other thing you want to do is ask open-ended questions. Now, don't make sure that this is not a person that you ask questions initially. They should be towards the middle or towards the end of the conversation. They're still social, so they still want to get a feel for the group and the situation, and they don't really do very well being put on the spot. When you do ask a question, expect the answer to take a little bit more time to answer. They're thinking and analyzing through what you've said and how they should answer. Because one of the things this particular temperament and team member really doesn't want to do is disappoint or let anyone down. So they're really thinking about what's the right question. One of the greatest attributes of this type of team member, however, is that they analyze and observe everything. So they have a really good sense of what's happening with the group. How do they feel? Their EQ naturally is off the charts. They can sense and feel and understand other people's perspective. So you do want to ask them questions, but just as we talked about previously, letting them know what is the intent of the call, how do you expect them to be part of that call so they know it's coming. Another thing to do with this particular team member is giving them facts and assurances, especially on any expectations or roles that you see them playing. Reassure them that they're not there by themselves, that they will either have help from a team member or from you as the leader. Here's a couple of don'ts. As we talked about before, don't put them in the spot or ask them first in a conversation. They won't really do well with that. That puts pressure on them to come up with the right answer. They don't tend to do really well with new things. So a phrase we like to use is, this is a lot like what you've been doing. Here's some of the adjustments to make to fit to our current situation. This particular type of team member is really concerned of what's going to happen or what happens next. There's not a lot of clarity to the future. So helping them to understand what to expect, where are we going, and why we're doing it will help this particular team member feel more confident, more comfortable, and become more productive. For them, change is stress. So you can almost understand the kind of stress this particular team member is having. By giving them some time to be prepared for the meeting, understand their roles and expectations, you'll have a productive conversation with them in a virtual setting with a group. One of the final points I would have with this particular group is that you give them small things to do, not long-term things, so they can get the results you're looking for, complete the task, make sure it was done correctly, and then give them the next thing. This will help them to stay focused and a productive member of your team. Be simple, be clear, and be focused, and this particular team member will flourish even under this tremendous amount of stress. Hope this was helpful. This is Rico with Pena Global. We have one more video to come, so stay tuned. Look forward to seeing you then.